So hello everybody, hello ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Agora. I would like to welcome you to Agora, to 12th version of this for Agora, for people who use technologies and who are visually impaired. My name is Radek Pavlíček from Data Sales Center at the Masaryk University, and I'll be here with you through the whole program. We would like to welcome to everybody who joined us, who made a while for that, because without having the most important people, the participants, it wouldn't make any sense to organize this event. So we're very glad that you are here with us at the moment, and you would like to learn something new about the technology and using ICT for users who are visually impaired. I would like to also to welcome the tutors who prepared 8 lectures for us on various topics from this field. I would like to thank my colleagues from the technical support who were very important for organizing this event. As I always say, I feel like a dwarf on the shoulders of some giants. I know it's difficult to believe that because of my body, but without their effort and time, our colleagues put into this, there wouldn't be any chance to organize this event. I would also like to thank the interpreters who are going to interpret simultaneously into English, because as we agreed in spring, one of the things we would like to keep also for future is to getting bigger. So not only focusing on Czech and Slovak public, and thanks to this form of communication, we have the chance. I'm very glad, and I would like to thank that there around Agora there is a community which is still getting bigger and bigger, a community of people who are somehow connected and who find this topic important and they want to spend time on it. I would also like to thank our partners who support us, and without them there wouldn't be a chance to organize this event in the size the company Deloitte and the endowment fund of Czech radio Světluška that supports our event for a long time, and not only financially but also supporting us with their knowledge, but not only with the money, which is of course very important and essential, but it's not only about money. And this partnership, I believe, is bigger than that. It's bigger than just the money. I would like to thank the other partners that we managed to get in touch with in the last few months, and I'm very glad I can also welcome some other participants from the university and participants from Open House Prague, and also partners and fans of Vodafone fund, and also to Seznam company that supported us with quite a large campaign that, for example, reached also my parents. That was a and with their very special dialect, really appreciated that even that this campaign got even to them. And also I would like to welcome partners from other projects that we have, because Agora is also the final conference of our project in the program, we will see some of the last parts of this project as well. I believe I did not forget about anybody, and now I would like Gabriela Drastichová to speak about the head of the endowment fund of the Czech Radio. That is our partner for a while, for a few years, and we're very glad for that. So, Gabi, please, if you could. So, Radek, thank you very much for inviting us and for having the chance of speaking to you. I'll be very brief because it was very difficult for you to keep the internet connection in spring. Here in Brno today, it's quite difficult to keep the internet connection ready in Prague. So I also watched InSpo in the shorter version, and I checked the autumn program of Agora, and I'm amazed how many things, how many topics we are able to talk about, how many apps we localize for Czech users, and especially the target group of heavily visually impaired. I think this group actually destroyed the participants on InSpo. And you who are watching this conference today, you are demanding users and you really want to have the best that the world of technology has to offer. And I'm very glad that Svetlushka can help with the financial aspect for you. From the program, I'm looking forward to some of the parts that are important for for getting the orientation in the system. And this is the topic that companies talk to us, and we have calls from many companies because it's a very important topic nowadays. And another important thing will be blind shell, because I believe that the blind shell has a lot to say, and I think the huge moment for blind shell is yet to come. Also, I would like to say that there is one point we all miss, that we cannot meet face to face on Agora or InSpo, because this part just isn't happening. So my idea is, let's during the days that we're getting to in these days, because the time is coming, let's focus on educating ourselves. Let's find some topics that will help us, and either learning how to work with some aids that will help us, and to spend the months before the Christmas learning and studying. And believe us, Svetlushka is here for you, to support you. We have programs for individuals that can find these programs, and they can ask for support. If you are fast enough, and if you make something interesting, if you find something interesting, on the 26th of October is the deadline of this admission procedure for individuals, where this education is a part of is the essential part. And during November, we will decide who is entitled to be supported. So fingers crossed for everybody, for all of us, to keep the life going on. And I wish you health, and I wish you to enjoy this Agora online. Gabi, thank you very much. And as I mentioned before, this event, this online conference, this is not the end. This is basically the beginning of Agora, because it's all about learning at home, about self-education, and there will be workshops going on, and we would like to continue with these workshops until roughly half of December. I will mention this, I will be talking about this also at the end of our presentation, so I'm very glad you mentioned this. This is the direction we want to go, and I'm very glad that we're on the same page. And I'm very glad that you have chosen some parts of the program, and that even for you who are fans and long-term friends of Agora, you found some interesting topics, and this time will be spent. Another guest of mine here is Barabinova, which is a name that's probably here for the first time in the context of Agora. Barabinova is a lady who is very important for the present idea of Agora and the way Agora looks. Few years ago, Barabinova initiated the communication between Deloitte and our Teresia Center. It was those times when the Deloitte company was looking for some areas where to find some people with specific or special needs, and Barabinova sent their attention to our Teresia Center, and we agreed with each other, and this long-term cooperation is working really nicely. And also because Bara initiated this this few years ago. I would like to thank Bara again for, I mean, probably she didn't know about this, but she started this huge thing, and I would like if she could just say a few words to us. Radek, thank you very much for this introduction, and also to Gabina. I'm very glad that I can be here with us for this moment of the beginning of Agora. This idea is really beautiful and admirable, and I can feel that it's huge, and it's very important to make our lives easier, and not to be obstacles in our lives for some people, because some people who are not in the flow of technology, they feel that they are controlled by technology, which is wrong, because they should be, of course, in charge of technology, using technology as tools, and you need to feel that you are the master of technology. I work at the Faculty of Informatics at Masaryk University, and it's a very important job for me because I'm the vice dean, and I try to connect the world of technology and people who really need it and who can use it. I'm very glad that Agora is a part of this, and I feel that we are responsible for connecting these two worlds and moving it forward. I'm very glad that Agora is doing a great job with this, and I'm glad that many people are joining us and are helping us. And there are many projects where any people in need, they have many places to address, and people are able and are ready to help us. I'm very glad that my personal project Chekitas that should help people get introduced with technology, especially to ladies and girls, is working in the same field. Well, I would like to thank to everybody who doesn't stop, who follows their idea, who follows the project, and I would like to thank Radek for doing his job the way he does it. I would like to thank Bara for her comments and for her dear words, and I'm very glad that hopefully next year the situation will be calm and we will have a chance to meet face to face. and to really to meet, to get to know each other, and maybe to find some sort of cooperation in the field where Bara is the expert. So again, thank you, Bara, very much for your input, and generally for what you do between Deloitte and Theresia Center several years ago. And our first guest, our first speaker for the beginning will be the head of the center, Petr Peňáz, who, as he always does, he would like to say hello to the participants. So, hello everybody, and I'm very glad that I have the chance to send some brief words your way. I'm here as Radek mentioned, I'm here as the host. I have the chance to really switch place with him, and I'm talking to you from the same position, from the same place as he did. I would like to continue to follow what he said, that he mentioned he feels like a dwarf on the back of, on the shoulders of a giant. Because of the situation, I would say that I feel like the dwarf who is under the feet of the giants, because the situation, the way it's happening, is moving so fast, and it's moving so rapidly that it's really difficult to follow everybody or to try to have an impact on the situation. I'm very glad that there are people, for example, like Radek, who even in this situation were able to move Agora into the environment where it was able to organize. We would all like to meet face to face the way it was before. I would also like to personally thank to Radek, because we are all fascinated by the energy, by the input that he gives into this, and I'm really very glad. At the moment, I'm not really sure whether, because of all other all other because the technologies are using are used to get around in the real world, in the, so let's say, physical world. But maybe it's time to work on some technology to help get around the digital world. We're not sure whether we're getting back to the real world or not, because the university is not sure about that. We're glad that because of this and thanks to this, we got a chance to connect us with more people worldwide. So I'm sure that next time when we have the chance to get in touch face to face, I believe that many of you, many of us, will be connected the same way as we are connected now. So I think for next few, for next years, for next conferences, I hope we will all be together. People here, people face to face in the real world and also virtually. And I'm looking forward to meeting you all. I would like to thank not only to Petra, but also Gabina and Bara for their speeches. And I'm very glad about the way that we are really on the same page in all these matters. And I believe that together together we will continue, because you cannot create this event just yourself, just by one person. You need a team of people. We need our help. We need to help each other, and we will try to move this conference so that it was the most effective and interesting for everybody who would like to join. So now let's get into the real stuff, the basic stuff that we are here. The the first person is Mr. Idan from Israel, presenting the topic that was actually introduced by Gabina. And the topic is about people who are visually impaired, how to move around in real space. And although nowadays, because of the situation and online world, we cannot really try this, I truly believe that next year we have the chance to try it out ourselves. So Idan, thank you very much. And
okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Meir. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called Right Here, and I thank you for watching this lecture. It's going to be 10 minutes about the revolution of audible wayfinding systems. Let me just share with you my screen right away. Here we go. So great. You should be able to see it right now. Start. We always said right here that inclusion starts with accessibility. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the revolution of audible wayfinding systems in the built environment, specifically about the Right Here solution, how we solve this orientation challenge, and what takeaways, practical takeaways, can you take out of it. It's only 10 minutes, so let's just get into it. As I said, my name is Idan Meir. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Right Here. I've learned business and psychology here in Israel, and I'm very excited to be speaking to you today as part of the Agora conference. I'll start with two facts for those of you who cannot see. For those of you who cannot see the slides I'm presenting, I will just describe them audibly. So what you can see now on the screen is two facts next to two images. One is that there are at least 75 million Braille signage in the USA. This is according to our research that we've done. They're probably about the same number or even more than that in Europe. And you can find the Braille signage everywhere you go, from smaller restaurants to the biggest airports, usually on the doors or next to the doors or on the wall, next to restrooms, inside the elevators. We are all familiar with Braille signage. Another fact is that 90% of the blind community do not read Braille. That leaves us basically with a not very effective solution for wayfinding. And it also leaves us with three main questions. One is, where are these Braille signage? Secondly is, again, who understands them? As we said, it's only 10% out of the blind population or the blind community. And thirdly is, why would you want to touch it? Now it's COVID-19 times, and plus public interfaces is not very recommended to touch. According to our research, there are 5.4% out of the population that are people with orientation challenges, as we call them. We're talking about, of course, the blind and visually impaired, but we're also talking about people with cognitive disabilities, mental disabilities, or other orientation challenges, which cause them to be not as independent as they can be in the public environment. In the US alone, we're talking about at least 18 million people. So where are the wayfinding systems are needed? What you see now in front of you is the skyline of New York. And the reason I've put this drawing on the slide is because we are looking to have the audible wayfinding systems in basically every space that is open for the public. You can think about audible wayfinding systems in a very similar way to ramps, basically. Ramps, just the physical ramp, is what's allow a person on wheelchair to access independently to a built environment, to every venue. Similarly, audible wayfinding system, it's what helps a person with orientation challenges, again, for example, a blind person, to access independently to that environment and be able to independently navigate and find his way in there. So it could be small restaurants to museums, to social centers, schools, retail stores, office buildings, stadiums, medical centers, city halls, shopping malls, airports, banks, universities, theaters, and go on and on and on. Again, every place that has a ramp or should have a ramp for wheelchairs should also have a ramp for the blind, as we call it, or should also have an audible wayfinding system for the orientation challenge. If we talk a little bit about audible wayfinding system, so it's basically divided to two landscapes. One is for the outdoor and the second one is for the indoor. So for the outdoor, we have GPS. GPS is very effective, it's very powerful. It can be more accurate, that's right. It's not the most accurate technology, but it's very accessible in terms of the technology of it. And there are different apps, just like right here, that based on this technology and provide you with a wayfinding or even navigation experiences. Right here specifically is an app both on Android and iPhone. It's a free, 100% free app that helps you find your way and navigate wherever you want to go with the GPS technology. So I guess many of you are already familiar with that. This technology has been around for years, nothing new so far. Moving on, what you see now in front of you is the Right Here app on an iPhone device. And the reason I've put that is because I wanted to grasp your attention to the record feature. The record feature is one of these unique features of the Right Here navigation experience outdoors. And what this feature basically does, it helps you to record information which, in a specific location, so it will be a kind of memo location based. So think about it, next time you'll go to your friend, for example, in a certain intersection that you get usually confused if the turn should be right or left, next time you'll be there, you can just record yourself, telling yourself, hey, this is where I need to turn right, or hey, this is where my friend's house is, or hey, this is where my bus station is. And then the next time you'll visit there, the app will give you this kind of reminder, this location-based memo, as I said. It's very effective in terms of creating your own landmarks or creating your own points on the map will help you to get a go to your destination. Another feature that I wanted to share with you is the nearby locations list that we have in the app. You can find in this feature, for those of you who have tried it or willing to try it later, all the locations that are right here enabled, as well as other points of interest in the area. And each time you click on one of our nearby locations, you'll be able to first simulate that location, learning about this place and building your own mental map before arriving. You'll be able to navigate there, whether if it's by walk or through third-party apps like Uber, Lyft, or any other public transportation. As well as finding the bus stations, lines, and schedule. This specific information is currently available only in certain countries, not in the Czech Republic yet, but soon to come. So nearby location is also a very powerful feature in the app. Another feature that I wanted to mention, which is right for both indoor and outdoor landscape, before we'll discuss the indoor landscape, is that our it's called Lens. and it's regarding our integrations with the Be My Eyes and Cash Reader apps. I guess many of you are already familiar with the Be My Eyes app as well as with Cash Reader. So thanks to the lens feature, you'll be able to open them both through the Right Here app. Therefore, you won't need to swap between the different apps. It can be all done through the app itself. More integrations will become soon, so stay tuned. Let's talk a little bit about the indoor environments. And what you see now on the slide is just a picture of an indoor mall. So in the indoor environment, it is relevant to share with you two more components of the Right Here system beside of the app. So one is the beacons. Beacons is, as you might also see me on the screen, is a sensor in the size of a matchbox, or imagine a sensor in the size of AirPods case. It's a Bluetooth sensor which requires no electricity. It runs on batteries inside, so you don't need to have an outlet in the venue. It does not require internet. It's basically does not require anything from the venue. It's a plug and play type of system that can be configured for different ranges. All the information that beacon will be helping our app to display audibly are being configured through the third component, which is our online dashboard. It's basically a cloud-based platform where the venue, if it's a mall or if it's a university or any other location, can basically configure and put all the information there. So our users, when they come nearby that beacons, they'll be able to hear that in their own language. The Right Here app is currently supporting 26 different languages. Czech is one of them, of course, so I invite you to try it later on. I want to move forward, and I know I don't have too many time more, about a few more minutes, and so in the next few minutes I want to discuss a few more things. One is that the value for users, I think, is very clear. As one of our users said, you get to feel a sense of freedom that you don't take for granted at all. This is Tali who told us this. So I think being able to be independent in a public space is a very important thing. It's a very crucial thing. And I think it's obvious. But let's talk a little bit about the value for businesses who work with us. One, it helps them to be more compliant. In different countries, there are different regulations regarding to accessibility. So if in Czech is similarly to Israel, having an audible wayfinding system help the businesses to be more compliant with the accessibility regulations in the country. Secondly, is to improve their image. Many businesses and companies happy to promote accessibility and inclusion nowadays. It's just helped their brand as well. Thirdly, is to expand the market, because basically when you welcome more visitors, you welcome more clients to your venue, whether if it's a restaurant or a hotel. It works the same. And lastly is to improve their corporate responsibility. So I call it the ethical reason. Having an audible wayfinding system is just the right thing to do, regardless of all the other reasons I've mentioned. I think it's also obvious, at least to those of you who are listening to me today. I'll kind of try to run very fast on two case studies that we had. One of them is with the Tel Aviv municipality. For those of you who might have been to Tel Aviv here in Israel, we've turned Ibn Gabirol Street, which is the main street in Ibn Gabirol, into accessible street, an audible street, by deploying our beacons outdoors. What we've been able to learn from this project is that it helps to the accuracy of GPS. We basically supported that with our Bluetooth beacons, and both of them are working perfectly together. During this case or use case, we've learned about the importance of personalization. This is how when we came up with the feature of the self-recordings I've mentioned earlier. We also realized the importance of having the system running in multiple languages as well for tourists. There are a lot of tourists in Tel Aviv in normal days, not now in COVID-19. So we realized we need to have more and more languages within the app. And we also learned that in a busy street, dynamic street like in Ibn Gabirol in Tel Aviv, avoiding obstacles in a dynamic environment is a challenge. So while the wayfinding system or the orientation layer of the street is good, it's still a challenge to walk around there independently because of the so many different obstacles that are there. The other or the second use case I wanted to share with you in the next 2 or 3 minutes is our use case with Shufersal. Shufersal is Israel's largest retailer. It's basically a supermarket chain. They have over 200 of them in Israel, and we've turned them all accessible with our system. What we've been able to learn from this use case is our universal thinking. We knew that before, but it helps us to be more focused on that through this project, because we've learned that one of the features that we have, which is called for local assistant indoors, is being effective not just for the blind and visually impaired or most of our users, but also for people on wheelchairs, for example, when they have hard of reach to reach the upper shelves in the supermarket. So by contacting a local assistant, they've been able to get this assistant and getting that to the audience that we're looking to find. We also learned, obviously, that the more beacons is helping from better accuracy. So we deployed more in the second phase of this project. And lastly, this is when we learn about the importance of having integrations with apps like Be My Eyes and Cash Reader to help our users identifying the items on the shelf or at the cashier. Few more thoughts to share. When thinking of choosing an accessible wayfinding solution, here's just a few things to consider. Obviously, the cost of it, the cost of the audible wayfinding system. There are different alternatives in the market, of course. Secondly, is the privacy. At Right Here, we really care about this. There's no even registration in the app. We don't know who our users are. So there's no Facebook or Google login or email registration within the app, and I think it's another factor to consider. The maintenance, how hard it would be to maintain the system, the availability on Android and iOS when thinking of, again, inclusion or accessibility, wanting to be as universal as possible and as accessible as possible. Therefore, one platform is just not enough. And again, from the universal design perspective, having it have feature that not helping only the blind and visually impaired, but again, the mainstream or anyone else who have or consider himself with an orientation challenge. More about that, by the way, can be found on wayfinder.net. It's a wayfinding community that can be found online. Right Here is currently working with over 800 locations worldwide. We are currently, last time I've checked, which was 2 days ago, about 2 or 3 days ago, we had 2.3K monthly active users. It's Corona times, so it's a bit lower than what we usually have. And our growth rate is on 13 new locations every month. We've also put some logos here in this slide about different companies. We have working with partners in every sector, from, again, retail to healthcare, through municipalities, theaters, universities, and more. And we are very excited to start our journey in the Czech Republic. As some of our users said, I don't leave my house without the Right Here app open. And as I said before, it gives you a sense of freedom. So we're very driven with our mission to turn the world into a more accessible environment. And you can help us with this mission. How? Very easily. There are 3 things you can do. 1, try our app and share your feedback. Secondly, ask venues to install the system and join our network. And thirdly, just talk to us. Share with us your ideas, share with us your feedback, whatever they are. You're also welcome to join our Facebook group. Just search for Right Here under groups at Facebook, and we are looking to find you there and answer all your thoughts and questions. And I will finish my very blitz lecture with this sentence, which I like very much. The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Thank you so much. My contact details are below in this slide, and I will also describe them. idan@righd-hear.com. This is my email, idan@righthere.com. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure. If you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to learn from it, and take care.
Hello, my name is Tomasz Kadlec, and I got the chance to show you this aid called Camera System Orcam. How about going for some shopping and show you this in the real world? I think it's a good idea. Let's go for it. So I'm sure you noticed that thanks to this camera system, I found out what shop I got to, which is a great feature, isn't it? So this identification of barcode by camera Orcam is one of the features of this aid. And if you have this, let's say, friend with you, you can do your shopping without having the help of any other person. So I believe you noticed that thanks to the camera system, I knew the price of the product while using just one finger gesture. So now I have everything, I bought everything that I wanted to, and now I'm going home to show you other features. So recognizing bank notes is another feature of this aid, and let's be honest, this feature can be used in any kind of situation. Hello, Tom. Hello, Honza. Well, if you own this aid, there is a way of identification based uh, on seeing the person. Well, first you need to upload the photo of the person into the system. Thanks to this aid, now I know what the time is, and it's time to say goodbye and wish you a nice day. Thank Tomasz very much for the show up, and now I will give you more details. So it's a device of the size of a finger. The weight is 20 grams. This part is out from the user. You can see this little touch bar that you can either tap or you can move your finger up and down. If you tap, This gives the OrCam the order to watch what is in front of the device. If you move during the reading, if you move up and down or to the front or to the back, uh, you say, you give the order moving to the front or back. If you tap again, it means stop reading. When OrCam is not reading, moving on the touch bar, it means turning up or down the volume. That's the front part. When you take a look at this part, you can see this silver connector, which is for the charging. I will show you how it works. It is magnetic. So you just put there the magnetic connector, you like break it off, connect it from the other side, and it always sticks and the charging is on. Looking from the front side, there is this lens and two a little diodes. That's what you use for taking the photo in lower light. Then you have two polarized magnets that are used for putting this device on your glasses. There are two of them, and they're polarized, as you can see, because they cannot stick the wrong way. So the only way you can stick it is like looking to the front, looking in front of the user. Very often people ask what languages OrCam has. Of course, in the Czech version there is the Czech language, there is German language, and there is English. Another question that we get is, can we change the speed of the reading? Of course, you can in the settings, and it's not only the speed of reading, but you can adjust various types of functions or features of this OrCam. Important thing is that the Employment Office can give you up to 90% of its price, but you need the documentation from the doctor as a proof that you belong to group A1 blind, or A blind, or B practically blind, and also you need to show that you know how this works and that it really can help you. If you keep this, you can get up to 90% of the price. So this was the second part of Agora. Thanks goes to Tomáš and Honza. Again, if you have any questions, send them to Jan at to the email. At the end of this section, I would like to thank to both companies right here and OrCam for the cooperation in this field of accessibility of the inside for users who are visually impaired by the implementation of this right here system that where we have already started in our university, Komenského Square 2 in Brno. And as I mentioned, well, when we get the chance, we'll be happy to meet you and to show you this system in the real world. You already got the chance at the INSPO conference, which was, I think, probably, if I'm not mistaken, last 2 years in the Congress Center in Prague, in the area where the conference took place. And as I mentioned, our cooperation with these two companies will continue. Well, not now, unfortunately, but we want to give to put or install this system in other buildings of Masaryk University for both students and teachers. If you are interested in this system, please let Idan know, and he'll be happy to give you all the information that you would like to get. So again, big thanks to all three presenters. And now let's leave the idea of Israel and their companies, and let's focus on what new technologies in the last year or half a year are happening in Android for visually impaired. The first point will be about something that we started in spring, blind shell touch phone. In some details, this phone was officially released a few weeks ago, and this will be by Kristina Savariova. Please.
Good morning. My name is Kristina Savariova, and I'm from the Blind Shell company. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for allowing me to take part in the online Agora conference, especially in today's difficult times, as well as for the possibility to tell you all about what's new in Blind Shell. In spring, I mentioned that we're about to release a new touch-enabled phone, and today, a couple months later, I can easily say that it's finally here. Today, we're going to be talking about our new phone, which is called Blind Shell Touch. But first of all, let's dive into history a little bit. Blind Shell Touch is already the fifth model of a Blind Shell phone. Everything started with two touch-enabled phones, Blind Shell Renaissance and Blind Shell Baroque in 2015 and 2014, followed by Blind Shell Classic, Blind Shell Classic Lite, and today the finally introduced Blind Shell Touch, which is a direct successor of the very popular Blind Shell Baroque model. The phone went through a huge redesign, but at the same time, all important features were kept. Currently, you can get one of three models from Blind Shell. Blind Shell Classic, which is the smartest feature phone, or Blind Shell Classic Lite, which is, on the other hand, the easiest, most simple phone for the blind, and finally, the new touch-enabled Blind Shell Touch. But let's finally get to the Blind Shell Touch itself. It's a modern touch-enabled phone, which is available in two colors, black and red. At first glance, it looks like a classical touch phone with a huge display, but it's complemented with all important functional features which a smartphone for the visually impaired should have. First, let's answer the basic questions that will occur to you when you say a touch-enabled phone for the blind. So what is it capable of? Blind Shell Touch is a touch-enabled, voice-controlled smartphone, which enables its users to access the internet, communicate over Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, take photos, recognize objects using QR codes, listen to music or audiobooks, and many other online and offline features. Who is it suitable for? This model of phone is designed for all the blind and visually impaired users who want to use more online features and communication channels than the current Blind Shell Classic model can do. At the same time, it's suitable to users who prefer a touch display over buttons. How do you control Blind Shell Touch? It's controlled using simple, easy to remember single finger gestures, as well as with voice control. You use only 4 gestures to control it, and these are short and long press with one finger and short and long press with 2 fingers. This system of controls will be no news for previous users of Blind Shell Baroque, and it's going to be nothing complicated for new users either. Our new phone is the best choice for more demanding users who prefer touch display over buttons. The phone has over 30 apps which you can use at any time. Let's remain at the most important ones. Blind Shell Touch is fully auditory, and if it's online, you can control it with your voice. Our clients have very often requested for the accessibility of WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. Blind Shell Touch allows you to stay in touch with your relatives, also using these 2 communication apps. You can listen to your favorite videos over YouTube. The MP3 player and radio will allow you to listen to music at any time you want. Photo, email, audiobook library, and GPS navigation are given as well. Blind Shell Touch also has an Android web browser where you can visit your favorite websites comfortably directly from within the phone. Using the object recognition with QR codes feature, you will have no more issues with recognizing objects that you commonly use in your household. And for completeness, we can introduce the complete feature sheet of the phone. The basic features include calls, making calls, call history, SMS messages, contacts, alarm clock, calendar, timer, notes, calculator, FM radio, internet radio, and email. The advanced features include the already mentioned WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, YouTube, Android web browser, the object recognition with QR codes feature, music player, book reader, unit converter, weather forecast, GPS location, games, or color recognition. As you could find out yourselves, Blanchel Touch is a phone which is designed in such a way that it enables its users to, that it serves its users in their everyday lives, help them, but also is funny for them. Speaking of technical specifications, Blanchel Touch runs on the Android operating system, which has been especially modified for Blanchel. It has a quad-core processor, and you can use 2 SIM cards at the same time with this phone. The operating memory of the phone is 1 GB and the internal storage is 16 GB. The storage can also be expanded with an SD card so that there's always enough room for storing your photos and data. The phone has 2 cameras. The back one has the 5 megapixels resolution and the front one 2 megapixels. The display is in almost 16 centimeters in diameter. The design is ahead of its time, and it's very pleasant to the touch. It's curved. The phone is available in black and red metallic color, and it can dare to face the ordinary smartphones in terms of its appearance. You get the common accessories such as protective glass, and a case. To sum up the previous presentation in several sentences, I dare say that the Blanchel Touch phone is the smartest phone for the blind and visually impaired. An elegant design, a touch screen, more than 30 function apps and features, including WhatsApp and Facebook messengers, make Blanchel Touch a clear choice for the more demanding users, and it makes it easier for them to stay in touch with their relatives. All the information, not just about our new product, can be found on our website at www.blindshell.cz. You can also take a look here at all our products, detailed descriptions, pictures, manuals, audio manuals, video recordings, or reviews submitted by our clients. We'll be very happy if you also register or create an account on our website and stay in touch with us. For your questions, to ask your questions, you can use the online chat, which is available to you every day. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to take part in today's Fall Agora run. Thanks for your time and attention, and we are very much looking forward to your questions. Goodbye. And I'd like to thank Christina for her contribution and for her Blanchel Touch phone introduction. And as has already been mentioned, if you have any questions facing the product at all, please direct them to Christina and her colleagues, and they will also certainly be glad to answer all your questions about the phone. Another contribution will be presented by the person who doesn't need to be introduced very much to regular Agora participants. He's Maciej Plch, who has been focusing on localizing and indirectly accessing or making Android accessible for blind users for a long time. He's been doing this for a long time. And today he's going to introduce to us the solution which you might have known under the name Commentary Screen Reader before, but this software changed its name to Tissio Screen Reader International, and under this name you can find it nowadays, not only to install it, but also, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're also preparing a series of articles focusing on this system. Some of them have already been released at our educational Pelion portal. Others are ready and will be released in the coming days or weeks. So if someone is interested in this topic more deeply, you'll certainly be able to get back to it in more detail over time. And I would like to thank Matej for joining us, for preparing the contribution, and I'm giving the floor to him. So good morning to everybody. I would like to shortly present to you the news in the area of the development of the dynamically expanding Android screen reader, which used to be called commentary screen reader, but it's no longer the case, because since the time when two concurrent branches were being developed, one was especially for China and the other one for the rest of the world, at that time the app author decided to stick to its original Chinese name. It's spelled Jeshuo, but it's pronounced Tishio. So I'd like to dedicate this presentation to beginner users or to people who are still hesitating whether to give it a try or not, to give this screen reader a try or not, because since the time I last presented something about this product, a lot of things have changed for the better. And nowadays it can be said that the screen reader is fully prepared for the conditions of our Czech users. And it's possible not only because of the complete localization, but also thanks to some details which are related to the rest of the world. In the early versions, when it was still a product aimed just at China, we were facing several issues, the largest one being the one that while text editing, the screen reader didn't distinguish spaces between words, because in China, they write words directly one after another together without any separation with spaces. So that was quite an issue for the users in Europe and in the rest of the world. And another issue was the fact that a group of various symbols, whether it be the most frequently used ones, question marks, periods, exclamation marks, have not been localized for a very long time. So even this was also quite a huge issue. But nevertheless, these things are gone, long gone. So the app is not only localized for a Czech user, but also for the rest of the world. And I'm going to divide it in two phases. In the first phase, I'm shortly going to tell you why you should at least give the product a try. And in the other one, I will then shortly mention the most recent features which have been implemented in over the last few months. So why should you show a screen reader? The ones of you who follow the news around Android have already probably noticed that the integrated screen reader TalkBack is not, unfortunately, not being developed very progressively for over 2 years. There's not much new going on around it. Google has a lot of people dedicated to it, but not only have we received any revolutionary news recently, but also the screen reader is being worse and worse optimized over time, and a lot of its features are being removed. Google says they are revoking features that are not useful to them, but mostly they are features where the community has a different opinion. So essentially, it can be said that there's no progress there. Nothing new important is going on, but whereas Tishio screen reader, considering the fact that it's only in development, been in development for 3 years, and TalkBack for 10 years, so considering this, Tishio has already moved ahead and it offers a lot of features and wonderful usability. The response cannot be compared at all. Even users who use Apple devices seriously compare it to VoiceOver in terms of its speed, which is actually a huge praise in the Android world. So the reactions are really very positive. Using the screen reader is really comfortable. You don't have to wait for anything. It doesn't happen very often that focus would jump around, which does happen with TalkBack sometimes. Not to mention that even working with text is far more sophisticated and complex. So if I leave aside the features alone, of which it offers a lot, some of them are free, some of them are paid, but I'm not going to be talking about licenses right now. That's meant for the more advanced users later. But nevertheless, what should really capture everyone's interest is the wonderful optimization. So even for this reason alone, I would give this product a try and give it a chance. It's fully localized into Czech as well as into Slovakian. Recently, our Slovak colleagues have fine-tuned it and finished it. So even the Slovak translation should be ready now. Speaking of the international version, that's unique in that it's got rid of all the Chinese add-ons and services, which even the users from the rest of the world had to deal with. So even if it had, if it was not related to them, they had to deal with these things and have some elements in the screen reader which were not entirely desirable. But this removing of these Chinese features has become noticeable in the app size, which is 3 times smaller now. But especially things like Chinese voice syntheses have gone away, and other things like that, which often complicated running or launching the screen reader because they started talking immediately because they were integrated directly, and they did not consider the default Czech voice at all. So to put it simply, these things are all gone now, and the product is really international aware. And now I'm gonna mention the news, which have been implemented over the last couple of months. The most significant one is that, and that was also a huge handicap over talkback for the whole time, which has finally gone away now. So the most significant piece of news is they completely re-implemented navigation, both in text as well as on the web. And even system navigation, a third kind of navigation has been added. The system navigation works in such a way that it's possible to quickly control and access certain elements within the operating system. And the web navigation is unique in the fact that compared to TalkBack, which only offers moving by headings, links, and landmarks, then Tissio has approached this in a much more complex way, and we can also encounter moving by lists, checkboxes, tables, forms, and so on. So we can show this in practice to give you an idea of everything that it can offer to you. We can hear the screen reader, 952, desktop 2 of 2. So I'm going to start with the web app list. I'm going to open Google Chrome. And it's very simple. It works so that by swiping up and down, the user selects the element by which they want to navigate, and then by swiping left or right, they move by the individual items of that kind. So we can demonstrate here on the web everything that's included in the navigation. So changing to links, buttons, landmarks, text fields, focusable items, controls, pictures, checkboxes, list boxes, tables, lists, list items, and sliders. So you could hear that there are a lot more options here than is the case with TalkBack. And speaking of the system navigation, for example, or even the text navigation, you could hear that a little while ago. That could be heard a little bit by mistake, but we can demonstrate. So text, buttons, text fields, pictures, checkboxes, list items, focusable items, objects, sliders, characters. So we can demonstrate a couple of things. Speaking of text, I have lines, paragraphs, pages, words here. So quite extensive movement possibilities, and then the access to some of these system elements or functions that I was talking about there's an interesting feature here, translate and copy, where if focus is received, some English text receives focus, then when you choose the option to recognize and translate, then simply by swiping left to right, you get the immediate translation of the text into Czech. So in this way, it's very easy to translate anything. Also, reading speed is interesting because usually you have to access this setting through some additional menus, but here it's accessible directly. So it's only enough to swipe to, it's just enough to swipe to reading speed. And again, by swiping left, we decrease it. And by swiping up, we can increase it. So 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 80, 75, 70, 65, 60, 55, 50. So it works like this. Another new feature which has been implemented is support for multi-finger gestures in Android 11. Unfortunately, I cannot demonstrate this in practice because I don't have this version of the system for now. But in essentially, to those who know, for example, iPhone, they know these controls very well. These are the various multi-taps, whether it's a double tap with 3 fingers, or I don't know, triple tap with 2 fingers, and so on. You can, in this way, you can activate various features of the apps or of the system itself, and it's implemented directly on the level of Android 11 itself. So even Google's own screen reader, which means TalkBack, should support this. And the last essential piece of news that I'm going to mention is complete support for external Bluetooth keyboards, which the users have also requested for a long time. And it's not just the rudimentary support for some basic navigation along the system, but it also includes support for navigating on the web as well, which means that using the physical keys on the keyboard, you can jump across links, headings, and so on. And also another interesting thing has been implemented, which is that there's some there's a lot of keystrokes, but the user can define their own. Then it's also possible to back up the scheme which you created in this way and save it for further usage, or in case of an app crash, then a lot of things thanks to be restored thanks to this backup, and the user doesn't have to reconfigure everything manually from the beginning. Okay, so I think this has been more than enough for this short presentation, and the workshop, which is also going to be aimed at beginner users, that I'm shortly mentioned that the workshop is going to be about how to properly adjust and configure the T-Show screen reader in such a way that all the features work according to your expectations. So I'd like to thank you for your attentions, and goodbye for now. Thank to Maciej, and I'm happy that he's also presented already the program of one of the workshops that we're preparing for you for the coming weeks. So as we already said, those of you who are interested in learning more about the topic will certainly have the opportunity. A blog about the accessibility of Android for the visually impaired will be concluded by the third contribution, which will be presented by Honza Husak, and it's going to be talking about one of the simplest, if not the simplest at all, interface, which adjusts Android controls in such a way that is accessible to as wide a target group of users as possible. I've known Honza for a couple of years already. I'm glad he accepted our invitation. He prepared his presentation, and about what Big Launcher is, and for example, why it was created in the first place and why it exists, he'll tell you yourselves. You have the floor, Honza.
So, hello everybody. I would like to say hello to all participants here, and I'm one of the two people who founded the Big Launcher, and I met Radek in 2030 when Big Launcher started. I think this is the good situation to look at the slides that were topical in 2003. Big Launcher was launched probably 8 years ago. Well, my mother, her phone broke. She had some sort of flip phones, and in those times, I was thinking about what new phone to buy her, and Android phones were beginning, but they were not very accessible. The display was too small, the gestures were not so easy. And I met Daniel Kunesh, a very talented computer programmer, and I told him, let's make an app to make this easier. Nothing too difficult, just six icons, and it will be done. It will be done in over the weekend. Well, this was years ago, and we're still working on this. The world was changed. There is not just 1 billion of phones on the planet. It's more than 3.5 billion till today, and 75% or maybe more than that are in Android. So we realized that also older people buy these phones as well. Not only old people, but people over the age of 40 who, let's say that their arms are getting shorter. They cannot really see at the display, and we were thinking how to make this smartphone easier to use, and how to give this chance to use a smartphone to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to use a smartphone. So the idea is to put the very basic functions on the main screen. There is messages, there is contacts, and there is this SOS situation to call a predefined number. Of course, during the years, it was evolved greatly, but the basis remains. We were listening to the customers, and we put some extra features. Of course, for example, you have the option to use multiple screens, to use shortcuts, but really the basis is still the same. And the idea is to have the phone as easy to use as possible. We started with Czech and English only, but well, of course, most grandmothers cannot speak English. At the moment, we're giving the chance to use 52 languages. This is my favorite slide, competition. This slide is from 7 years ago, and I don't think that any of this competition remains until today. There's of course new competition, and I believe, and I'm quite sure that we are the only company that was here since the beginning, because we keep listening to users. People like us and people use us, although there might be some ways that are free of charge, but still people again go back to us because our system is good, our system is stable, it doesn't crash, and it's very easy to use. At the beginning, Google supported not so great contrast on their displays, gray and white. Well, what we were trying to do, we tried to focus on the easy legibility or readability. Well, in last years, this was changed a little bit because even Google started with giving contrast to their standard phones. Another thing is we offer users really huge letters, really huge figures, so that it was possible to use by visually impaired. We also did this change that we can read to the user more pieces of information than what actually is on the screen because of the huge letters. So, for example, you don't need to click or open the message and it will be read to you. So we move further than Google does. Because you can use the phone using just with your one finger. We implemented the feature of talkback. So it's something between a phone for practically blind and for those who are visually impaired, and but still can use their eyes to check and to control the phone. We're also working with a company who creates special interfaces for people who cannot really move. And I need to say that these features, we didn't create all the features. It was important to listen to the community, listen to the users, and we used some of the features based on the feedback that we got from the users. What we do is we read emails, we read reviews, we listen to our users, and we're trying to prepare the safe environment for them. It can be for the users themselves, or for example, what I am trying to be a good son and helping to my mother. So if you have any questions, just contact us on Facebook or write an email to us. If you never tried this, try it out. There's a demo version online, and I wish you a very nice rest of the day, and yeah, see you. You cannot see the display of your phone. Would you like to use the phone with a large display, but it's too complicated, too difficult for you? Download Big Launcher and use the phone without any difficulties. It's easy and it's large, because the basic features of phones are enhanced. So the history of calling, text messages, and editing, everything is easy to be read. You don't get lost in complicated settings and other features. It's very easy. There is also the SOS button, so if you are in trouble, it can be used to contact your relatives, for example, and even save your life. You won't need your glasses just because you can't see the standard font, the standard letters. You can choose various colored schemes that can save your strength in your eyes. You can edit it. You can add your own buttons, add your own icons, even the widgets. And if you run out of space, out of place on your screen, just you can put there another. Because of great accessibility, it's also an option for people who are really difficult to move. So stop having difficulties with your phone and enjoy your phone, and be in touch with your relatives. Download Big Launcher, download the demo, but this offer will not be around for unlimited time, so try it out. So I would like to thank Honza for the introduction of Big Launcher, and this contribution finishes another part of our conference. In this part, we learned some news on in Android system on Google phones. At the moment, you can use the blind shell, or you can use Big Launcher as well. well, from the solutions that are mentioned here, and Jitsuo is one of them as well. So if you need to make Android phone more accessible, there are ways to do that. There are ways to do that for everybody. Everybody can find the way that's perfect for them. Next contribution, we will move into a slightly different area, and I would like to welcome Julia Tomaňová from Brno Vida Center, and she will tell us about how exactly Vida Science Center makes accessible to visually impaired students. We will not speak only about the environment and making it accessible, but we will also talk about what exactly is connected with other various projects that we mentioned, so the education for the blind and visually impaired. So Julcia, thank you very much, and I would like you to continue with the conference.
Two years ago, me and my colleagues from the Brno Science Center joined a challenge to unify the formal and informal education for students with specific needs. We are preparing popular and educational programs and gradually modifying the elements of our exhibition for the partially sighted and blind visitors. And we have to admit that there's still a long journey ahead of us in further development. That's why we're glad that we can move it forward with our collaborating school teacher colleagues and our Teoresias Center colleagues. Our visual perception in our programs, we gradually replace them by using touch and hearing, including such classical visual disciplines as chemistry, biology, or physics. We use different things to help us with that. 3D printers, handmade models of self-created aids, but especially looking for the primary motivation why it's great to learn something regardless of whether I have or don't have a disability. Over the last 2 years, we implemented in the 22 various programs overall for classes of pupils with different combinations of disabilities between 13 and 19 years of age. Now, me and my lecturer colleagues are shortly going to introduce to you our project programs, including the photos. We changed the photos of our young participants, the faces of young participants in the photos. Please apologize, this is not entirely appropriate modification, but it was done because of the privacy and youth of our visitors. We believe it's going to be sufficient to illustrate what we're doing here. The goal of the heart and lungs inside of us is to understand how our heart works and how it's connected to the lungs and how it all works together. Every student at the beginning worked with their own phonendoscope. Then in pair, the students measured their blood pressure using the pressure meter, and they wrote the values down to school later. The core of the program is dissection of the heart itself. Every pair of students gets a real pork heart, and under the lecturer's guidance, they first explored from the outside and then also from the inside. Surprisingly, the students did very well and the topic interested them a lot. And the conclusion of the entire program is making pork lungs breathe using an ambu bag. The first aid program was longer than other blocks, and it took an entire morning. It's based off the methodology of the countrywide local organization, which teaches first aid through experience. And we also consulted this rescue program with the methodologist of our South Moravian region. So it's also suitable for partially sighted and blind students. Of course, at the beginning of the program, it was necessary to introduce a little bit of theory, but emphasis was placed on the students to try everything out in practice. So the class was often separated into small groups. We taught the students how to find out if a person is breathing normally. They were taught to resuscitate, to stop even massive bleeding, and try what to do when someone faints or pours hot water on them or breaks their ankle. And after the initial hesitation and laughing, the students really dove into the training seriously and treated the simulation seriously. Because of various stereotypes, there's only a tiny percentage of students who are excited about chemistry. And we decided, using the block chemistry, everyday chemistry, to remove these stereotypes in somehow. It's not just about calculating various formulae and laws and equations, but to introduce chemistry as a useful everyday helper in your everyday life. It was a 2-hour-long block, and we experimented with various things that we can find at home, in the kitchen, first aid kit. And using these things, we explained the principle of how hard coal works, or how to cook an egg without a flame. And the greatest challenge was to concentrate on haptic and auditory exhibitions, so that even disabled students can discover the magic of science. And we're pleased to say that in this way, they enhanced not only their awareness of chemistry, but also their soft skills, such as cooperation, communication, or problem solving, which we also focused on in this block. The topic of human sexuality still remains, even today, a taboo for many young adults or adults, but the nudity and human body is a normal part of our lives, just like our diversity in society. So before introducing this topic, we asked the question about whether we learn enough and openly and without prejudices about the changes in our body. No matter how limited the options of visually impaired students of learning about this are limited, we tried to create a friendly conditions and as comfortable and secure environment as possible for them to learn about the human body and to ask their questions about our diversity, which required partial separation of the students into boys and girls part, and special practical help with the reproduction system using silicone models of organs, which was a little difficult time-wise and logistics-wise, but our efforts certainly returned or came back to us in the form of their gratitude, of the students' gratitude, who immensely appreciated our openness and honesty and sharing the experiences and the options that this program introduced to them. A classical chapter from a physics textbook can also be treated differently than calculating electric resistance and drawing schemes. We use the fact that electricity can not only be seen well, but also heard and felt or smelled well. And we built a 150 minutes long program during which the students themselves felt the power of static electricity. They found out what's inside a battery. They tried to hand make a source of energy to make a siren resonate. We also dove into more complex issues of blackout, which is a situation where we would lose all power altogether. And even though it was a program quite demanding for both the participants as well as us organizers, because we were altering between a very wide scale of aids and topics, we were pleased to find out that we managed to a little change of attitude in our pupils towards physics as a discipline which borders on our everyday life. And for real, every one of us can find whatever is interesting to them, or what they need, or what they simply find fun. We also promised in our project a program focusing on geography. After consulting and beta testing various possibilities, we decided to narrow the contents down to the place where our pupils study and live directly. In an all-morning block, we looked topic of city architecture, and students tried to design such a city where they would like to live themselves. The goal was to lead the pupils to the interest about the environment they live in, what their priorities are, and what they would like for their city. or to do for their city. In their own model of such a place, they then worked with various materials and aids, and we used 3D models of known buildings and places for inspiration, as well as haptic maps, which complement classic maps with a unique information about the surface and a practical layout of the area. What's ahead of us? Considering the limitation which currently prevents us from meeting our students face-to-face, we have postponed further project implementations until the classical visitor operation of the connected schools and our science center is restored. After the project is over, the result will be the methodology which can be used by teachers and students, as well as enriching our everyday operation, and I hope not just the project operation, for programs will bring enriching science experiences to everybody. I hope we're going to meet you all in these programs. On behalf of the lecturer team of Science Without Borders, I wish you a nice day and thank you for your attention. And Radek speaking, I thank you. I thank to Julcia and everyone from the Science Center, and I cross my fingers for what they're doing, because I find it an amazing task, which is good for practice, but not difficult, not simple at all. If you know Science Center and take a look at the exhibitions and programs they offer, I think there's still a lot to do. And it's also, we really have to bow down to the effort which Julia and her colleagues put in it. So I believe when the opportunity allows, that we'll come to see some program or exhibition in the Science Center together. The last two contributions are concerned with the topic of using Braille displays in education, but not only in education of the blind. And as I already mentioned, it's going to be a contribution or entry of our project, School as a Center for Collegial Support, where we have intensively worked on this topic for the last few months, and we have prepared some materials for it, which we'll gradually introduce to you. And the introduction of the following presentation is very simple for me, because I was asked not to mention anything, not to reveal anything. So I'm only going to say that the news about a specific interesting aid, assistive aid, are going to be introduced by Michal Jungmann from the Gallup company. And because I'm not to say more, then I will not say more. And I'm using this opportunity to thank Michal for his contribution and give the floor to him.
So, hello everybody. I'm saying hello from Prague to Brno and from Brno to the whole world. So now please listen. Now listen to this sound. You couldn't really see anything, but if you heard this correctly, not sure if it went through, it was the characteristic sound that that is created by the Orbit Reader 20, a Braille display reader. So just briefly, for those who were not in Brno, basically every important piece of information is in the name, because 20 is the number of letters that can be displayed, because the standard thing is between 12 or 14, so 20 is really good. It's called a reader of digital texts in Braille letters. So it's very similar to for example, Kindle or another ebook reader for those who use visual for their reading. This is for the visually impaired or blind. Orbit is for Orbit Research, the name of American company that creates this device. There is the classic style Braille keyboard that you can also use to create your own notes. So it can also be a notepad. So now we explain the name of this. of this device. And now let's go for the topic, and the topic is the news and user experiences, or experience. So last autumn, it was mentioned that the reader would be available from January, which is true. So if you decide and if you order this, you can have this device with you in a few days, or maybe weeks. Another piece of news is important for users who don't only use Czech or English, but also different languages, because the trouble is that Orbit Reader doesn't really or cannot really change the Braille readers, and as you have in JAWS or NVDA, but you can have just one Braille table. But we are now working on putting more a greater table that will also have the Czech, not only the Czech, but also Polish, French, Spanish, and Italian, and other languages, and also Esperanto as a bonus. Another news is about some sort of case that can be used to carry this device around. Usually one of them is good, the other not so good. The good thing is that there is now, well, beginning in November, there is original case. The not so good thing is that the cost of this is around 2,000 crowns. Well, but that's life, I guess. Now we're moving you to the news announced by the producer. So there are two versions: Orbit Reader 20 and Orbit Reader 20 Plus. There are some features that are extra. Of course, for example, you can show the time, the calendar, and calculator, and of course the same features as the basic version. The bad thing is, a good thing is that it can be bought also in the Czech Republic, but unfortunately the extra price you have to pay is much higher than it was originally announced, more than 10,000 crowns. The basic version is sold at 23,900 crowns, and the Orbit Reader is 33,900, which is not so great. Now, some time ago, the producer inserted that there will be Orbit 40 with 40 letters, and also Orbit Writer that should work as keyboard, that could be connected with, for example, a mobile phone or tablet. And again, two pieces of news. Good news is that these devices will be in sale starting in probably two months. And the bad thing is, I mean, originally it was announced really a long time ago, so we're not sure about being this available in Europe, and about the price. So this is the news. Now let's talk about the experience, the user experience. So you can see in here 5 pieces of experience. Number 1, I use the reader for reading, for example, fairy tales to my son. It was great because mobile and comfortable. The second, after many years, I started reading poetry again. Number 3, I go to a choir, and I'm using this instead of a songbook, which is much more comfortable and practical. Number 4, I was surprised that these 20 letters do not limit at all, and they say, I mean, it's quite loud, but not so disturbing. The last one was that we heard that it is quite loud, but I don't have this experience. It's perfectly fine. Very interesting piece of information. You can use the support of the employment office. You can ask for the state compensation, and not many users use this. And it seems that despite of this, it was bought by many people around the world. So I'm running out of time. So if you are interested in Orbit Reader, I can recommend you to put into Google 3 words: Orbit Reader Gallop, and on the website there will be a link to the article with the review of this device. Thank you very much for your patience, and Radek for his patience especially, and I want him to continue with the conference. So thank you very much, Radek, for giving us the news and the whole Agora conference, and of course this part of Agora, which is divided, which is given to Braille readers, will be finished by Roman Kabelka, my colleague, that will present his topic, using the Braille display for education of the blind. And part of this presentation is also the comparison of all of the models of Braille readers that are on the market. So if you are now thinking about, for example, which Braille display to buy, and you want some pieces of information about that, or if you work in a school and you're thinking about which type to buy or to recommend for your for your students or pupils, so this this brochure that will be created by Roman will be the best place where to go. As I mentioned, we will, beginning from today in the afternoon, we will continue with the presentation of this material online. And if you are interested, the materials will be continuously ready for your use. So I would like to thank to Roman and his colleagues for the amount of work. And now, please, Roman, I would like you to start talking.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce to you a guide which is concerned with the usage of Braille display not only in education. This guide has been created in the Teresia Center. I collaborated on it with, I'm Roman Kabelka, and I collaborated on it with Michal Jelinek, Jiří Fens, and it was all coordinated and guided by Radek Pavlíček. This guide is meant as a comparison of Braille displays which are currently offered at the Czech market. But of course, you can also find here information that's important for able to understand what such a Braille display is useful for, and especially how it can be utilized in education. When we look at the two main possibilities that will one, then a Braille display can be used especially when reading, when for professional reading, and then also to simplify the communication with mobile devices. That's quite a current topic. By the professional reading, we mean especially two areas. it's reading of documents, which can also be books, we have to mention that there are users for who synthetic voice is not entirely pleasant, and they prefer reading in Braille because they know it, they can read it quickly, and it's pleasant for them. An important factor is also that if the user reads the documents in Braille, then he or she enhances their literacy. They have the structure of the document under their fingers, and that's quite important. Then there is also an significant role is can be useful when you want to read aloud. Now, when I'm currently presenting to you, I have my notes on a Braille display. If I used voice synthesis, I might not be able to keep up so well. When it comes to working with structured content, because that's also related to professional reading, there it's important to perceive in detail how the content is written. That's, for example, useful when studying foreign languages or in programming, by the fact that individual characters are displayed on the display, and you can also quite well touch or sense the spacing between words. Then the scaling of the content more distinguishable. And also using voice synthesis for these activities is not as intuitive, because there you have to decide among various keystrokes which you are going to use to read the content. For some notations, of course, norms are important for some notations. For example, mathematics, that means the way you know it, printed on Braille paper, the user would like to have it in the same way on the Braille display, in the digital form, which can be approached or contributed to in this way. If the display is connected to the computer, and it has several advantages. For example, you can click into or drill down into the expressions and orient yourself in the content in a better way. Now it almost looks like a Braille display is something that everyone should have, but it's not the case. Of course, there are users for who voice synthesis is better suitable for their way of using digital technologies. It's entirely sufficient for them, and not to mention that there are also certainly some cases where the voice synthesis is more fluid and faster for the basic usage. But speaking of education, for example, or of career and professional work, these are areas where a Braille display can help a lot by perceiving the level of the individual character. So we can very well specify the level of detail and perceive the syntax, perceive grammar and spelling, and also the structure or the outline of the text. The users, and I've come across during my career of a lecturer, I've come across clients who were being educated practically exclusively via voice synthesis, and it was really noticeable from their writing. They wrote as the way they hear. Sometimes they even wrote phonetically, and above all, their expression, their point was not entirely well structured, so it wasn't possible to orient in it very well. It sounded a little bit, when you were reading it afterwards, almost like transcripts of recordings of legal litigations. So a braille display is assistive technology specified by the law, and it's also specific. So you can apply for it to be, you can apply for governmental funding in order to we explain 2 items there in the guide under which you can apply for this foundation funding to get the braille display. Speaking of the guide's organization, speaking of how the braille display is organized technical wise, it's a terminal device, because nowadays it not only provides output in braille but also braille input. It's usually connected via either USB, a USB port, or it's more comfortable to connect it wirelessly, Bluetooth. It's always necessary to have a screen reader present in the device to which you're connecting the display. And speaking of other usual parameters, the displays have varying sizes. Usually what sizes can be found are from 12 to 80 characters. It's always a single line of text, and depending on how long the line is, the braille displays are categorized, which we'll get to in a while. The braille keyboard on a braille display is beneficial not only for writing in braille, but also for controlling the screen reader or the connected device itself. It can be used without having to connect, for example, to a computer. So the braille display can be used without connecting to a computer. For example, we can take notes at least. Of course, some models can do more. For example, they have calendar features or other features. As I said, braille displays are charged via the USB port using the proper cable. And for the wireless usage, the braille displays provide a built-in battery, which usually lasts up to 15 to 20 hours of operation. On a braille display, there are different tactile controls. Essentially, they get into 2 groups. The first group are controls that enable us to control what's displayed on it, or to specify where the text cursor should be placed. These controls are the so-called routing buttons. And then there are the second group, the controls including the braille keyboard, with which it's possible to control the connected device directly. Speaking of the categorization of braille displays, there are 24 cell displays and 24 cells and larger. These are the classical displays, which will serve the user well to orient in the text, because the display they have is sufficiently large. And of course, they're also suitable for reading and to be used with a computer or to read from a computer. Then there are the Braille terminals, which also have more than 24 cells, and they also provide the keyboard in addition to just the display. And compared to the classical displays, they're also different in at least some rudimentary autonomous features. They combine quite well the having a quite long line, so they can be used even for some professional work where we need to have an overview of the content. But also they're also portable. They can be used with mobile devices, although of course these terminal displays themselves are larger devices. But to be used with a computer as well as with a mobile device, they're a good compromise. Of course, if we know that we want to use the Braille display, especially with mobile devices, then it comes in handy to use the pocket terminals, which have a shorter line in a way, and of course the devices themselves are smaller, so they're better suited for carry around on the go. Not to mention that even the variability of how they can be used is certainly greater. For example, they can be put in a case with an attached strap. They can be carried over your shoulder, and they're quite agile. Of course, our guide includes much more information, even from the areas that I introduced here. So even the introduced information is described in much greater detail. And we also discuss other topics such as usage in education, in different activities. We discuss the comparison of the various technologies of the Braille displays, what options of controlling the displays there are, and so on. So for this level of details, I'm going to recommend you to consult the guide, which is published on the Pelion portal, and there you can read how the comparison worked out. There's also a brief summary where we have defined some basic user groups and for which the given model is suitable. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and I wish you a nice day. Thanks a lot to Roman and to the colleagues who collaborated on preparing this material. And there's nothing else left for me other than to thank not only to the last presenter, but to all of them, because the plenary session of the Fall Agora 2020 is has been successfully concluded. I believe you liked it. I believe everybody found your topic of interest in it, and that you're going to stay with us not only in the following years, but especially in the coming weeks of this year already, because as we already mentioned, we are not finishing the Agora with this plenary session, but beginning it with it. I sent links to invitations for various workshops and lectures and other materials that we're gradually going to prepare and publish and offer to you. So certainly follow the web of the conference itself, agora.muni.cz, which is going to serve as a hub from where you can head in the right direction to the workshop or for a tutorial that you want. Also, follow poslepu.cz, where all this information is going to be published and offered gradually. Follow our social networks, the Facebook of the Theresia Center, the Facebook page of the Pelion portal, this Agora event on Facebook, so that you will not miss out on any of the news here and of the information you need to get there and to enhance your digital literacy in this way, which is our common goal, as Gabina Drastichova already said in her introductory speech. I'd like to thank once more to all the participants, whether those who connected us, who joined us online today, as well as to those who will watch the plenary session subsequently from the recording. I thank the presenters for spending their time preparing their contributions on interesting topics and presenting their topics, which I believe found their listeners among the participants. Thanks once again to my colleagues, the technicians, for preparing the technical infrastructure, without which it would not be possible to organize Agora in this way. I thank to the interpreters who interpreted this entire program into English. Thanks to that, we could offer it to the entire Czech and Slovak Republic. Of course, thanks to Petr Peňáz for crossing his fingers for this event and giving it the time it deserves, and we can organize the event under the Theresia Center. And of course, thanks to all our partners and everyone who had a part in Agora, whether it be our main general partners, the Deloitte company and the Czech Radio Endowment Fund, which supports Agora from the Firefly grant, and whether it be other partners whose activities we will propagate in the coming days, whether it be the Vodafone Foundation, which is currently looking for new projects into their laboratory. So if you have an idea or in a desk somewhere, in a notebook, some project that you'd like to consult and that is meaningful according to you, and it's competitive, and you'd like to help with it in some way, then feel free to reach out to the colleagues from our Vodafone Foundation. There is an offering of workshops that we organize together with the Open House project, Open House Prague. That's an architectural 3D modeling for the visually impaired, where the goal is to create a sufficient number of 3D models of buildings which will be useful to the users, which means they will respect the specifications of perceiving such models via touch. There are activities of the Firefly, which Gabina has already mentioned, whether it be the support of individuals, students, or the possibility for organizations to apply for a grant in the Kaufland Fund. So if someone of you has a topic or a project or an idea that the Firefly could support in this way, feel free to reach out to them and take a look at their website, and there you'll learn everything you need. In conclusion, I would like to invite you to join one more event, which can also support or enable Firefly to keep providing its support in the same level as it does currently. I prepared this beautiful head-mounted flashlight. For those of you who are my Facebook friends, you could have seen it already. As you probably know, one of the Firefly's projects are the so-called night runs. This year, unfortunately, they could not take place because of the COVID precautions in the extent they were planned. So Firefly reacted to the situation in a very flexible way, and they offer the possibility to join the so-called virtual Firefly run, or just virtual walking if you don't want to run or don't want or cannot for some reason and thus they offer the option to support Firefly in this way. I already took part in this with my family. We walked for a beautiful 8-kilometer long walk with my family on Sunday. So if you're looking for a meaningful nudge to move on, then take a look at BEHPROSVETLUSKU.cz, and you'll find everything you need there, and you can give a meaning to your movement in this way. Okay, so that's everything from me. Finally, I believe I haven't forgotten anyone or anything. Once again, huge, big thanks to everybody who's joined today's Agora plenary session in any way and however you contributed to its successful running. And thank you on behalf of the entire organizational team. I wish for you to stay safe and healthy, and I believe we are soon going to meet either virtually or in person.